right, perfect. So, welcome to episode 9 of the Second Best Podcast. I am Pat Thames. As of right now, I am in Portland. However, I'm going to be in Oklahoma City from June to October. Comic, you can find me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram. It's generally just going to be at underscore Pat Thames. With me, I have Van Sparrow or Van Spillman.
Yep.
I don't know if I'm using it. Okay, and you can find him on Instagram, Facebook, as well at Van Sparrow, right?
Correct.
And with us today, we've also got a special guest. He's a very close friend of mine, very near and dear to my heart. His name is Rick Lopez, and he writes for you don't even read comics, right?
You don't read comics.
You don't read comics now. That's a Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
It's just TFU. You don't read comics.
Yeah, on Facebook, and then on their website is just youdontreadcomics.com.
And how do they find you on Instagram?
Doombot2814.
Right, so yeah, perfect. Check him out afterwards. He puts up a lot of art from his comics and occasionally stuff from his personal life. As we all do. Oh my god. Fucking love Instagram. So, let's see here. So I guess we'll start this off with I just read Flex Mentallo at your recommendation. And it was probably did Morrison write Nameless?
Yeah, Morrison wrote Nameless as well. They're like a decade apart.
Yeah, and Flex was like where Nameless is just basically like we're gonna kill God.
Yeah.
Flex Mentallo was just the exact opposite end of it, where it's like human life is worth living and you shouldn't kill yourself, and like comics are awesome and they should be not gritty, and it was really, I really liked it.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite series I've ever read. Like, it's crazy how much he can do with just 4 issues. Like each issue goes through the different phases of or different ages of comic books. So like you start off with like the Golden Age with the first issue, and on to the Silver Age and the Bronze Age, and then into the Dark Age by the time you get to the last issue. Like even issue 3 is a callback to Dark Knight Returns with Flex Mentallo on it. It's pretty sweet.
The cover was like, I was like, that's even with like the signature and everything on it, I was just like, man, he's fucking with Frank Miller. Do you think Frank Miller took that personally? Like, do you think he was just like, who is this motherfucker trying to shit on my?
Probably at this point, no. Maybe if he'd have done it earlier, maybe. But like at this point, like Grant's already like done so many different things. Like he did Arkham Asylum around the time that the first movie came out, and I mean, like at that time, a lot of people would like go to the comic book stands or go to the, you know what I mean, go to the stores and go get books. And since that one was on shelves, like he made a lot of money off of that one, and that kind of just like accelerated his career from there, like in the American comic book industry.
We're talking about Grant Morrison, right?
Yeah, Grant Morrison.
Oh man, he wrote Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, Serious House on Serious Earth.
Yeah, wow, I didn't know that, but that makes sense.
With Dave McKean. Dave McKean did covers for Sandman as well. They're pretty famous covers.
That makes sense. Arkham was a very, like, that's like a quintessential Batman work, but I feel like what was I gonna say? I don't know if enough people have actually read it, even though I feel like all of the PS4 games are trying to point people in that direction.
Yeah, I think it's just not as what's the word? It's just not like, because I mean the art style is really just like, you know, it's not typical for a comic book. It's painted and uses so many different techniques to do it. So I think that's where it's more like of a niche book in that sense, even though like it's incredibly popular, and like DC does promote it a lot actually. Like they usually include it in like their big lists for new readers each year to like check out.
Okay. And then but back to Flex Mentallo, there was like a bunch of really, really cool callbacks that were just in that first issue that got me. The one that I even shared, where it's just basically he handed me a crossword puzzle, and he said that this is the word that God spoke at the beginning of creation, and it's so obvious that it's Shazam, and I'm just like, oh my god.
Right.
It was amazing.
Yeah, that one's great. What was I gonna say? Because he first appears in Doom Patrol is the thing, and I don't know if you knew that or not. Because I mean, I know he's in the show right now, but he first appears in Doom Patrol, and he's essentially like a facsimile or a pastiche for Charles Atlas, if you've ever heard of him. But
Yeah.
he's like a famous weightlifter. But they would advertise it in old comic books, and it would be like this story about how he's like this weakling, and he's hanging with this girl, and a bully walks up and like like roughs him up or whatever, and the girl ends up leaving with him. So he's like, oh, I need to get this Charles Atlas kit, and he like gets all buff and comes back and beats up the bully and walks off with the girl. So like Grant Morrison takes that story and puts it into Doom Patrol and makes it to where Flex is essentially that, but it's essentially the same exact story. But at the end, when he comes back to kick the bully's ass, like the girl's like, oh, I want to be with you now, and he's just like, fuck off, bimbo. So it's pretty sweet. But like that's where that starts. But I mean, you can read Flex without touching Doom Patrol at all.
Yeah, it was pretty self-contained.
Yeah,
and
for
also,
a long time it was hard to get.
Really?
Because of the Charles Atlas stuff. They were like fighting with him over it. I don't know all the little nitty gritty about it, but for a while you couldn't like DC didn't have it reprinted. Like you could only find the old singles.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but what are you gonna say? I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I know that they recolored it because I was reading after finishing it. There was like it was dense, dude. It was like reading the Book of Revelation backwards. Like it was just there's a lot of stuff packed into those like 80 pages or so. And I was just reading some stuff and I was like, dude, these scans are different. And it turns out they actually recolor.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we would talk about that, but yeah, there is a recoloring. I'm not exactly sure as to why, and I don't even know if I really have a preference. I like them both. I guess I kind of like them a little bit more darker, but the bright ones do have like a nice pop to them. So I'm not really particular one way or another on that.
It's definitely because I knew about the Charles Atlas stuff, and it's kind of weird that it's like you basically got rich off of comic book nerds by trying to turn them into like fucking gym rats,
right?
And now you're gonna sue them for making a callback. Like I don't know. I haven't seen Flex Mentallo and the Charles Atlas dude side to side, so I can't really say for certain. But I always felt like the Charles Atlas dude, maybe because I'm just superimposing memories. I always thought that he looked more like Schwarzenegger or something like that because his hair wasn't the same.
I think I don't know. To me, I mean, Flex is obviously like really exaggerated, but I feel like Charles Atlas wasn't like as buff as even Schwarzenegger. He was just because this is like in what like the 40s or 30s or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe even 50s. It's like before even Schwarzenegger, so it's like he wasn't even like that sort of industry hadn't even peaked in that sense, or whatever you want to call it. Like they're not getting that big back then, basically.
Yeah, they didn't know about those massive gains.
The gains, yeah.
They didn't have this synthitol or whatever the hell it is, the synthol injections. But yeah, no, like what's weird is like I want to say Unbreakable even had a no Flex Mentallo came out after Unbreakable. Never mind, that doesn't make sense. But I just remember one of the heroes looked like
when did Unbreakable come out? His Flex came out in like what 94, 93?
Oh, never mind. I might be onto something. Unbreakable was early 2000s because I just remember
2000.
Mr. Glass had that like whole scene where he's like, if you look at comic books, he's like, tone it down because like he was like superheroes are real, blah blah blah, gritty Shyamalan adaptation, and they show the comic book version and they show art from which it's like depicted from, and I swear maybe I'm like once again superimposing something, but I'm like is that Flex Man? Or I think the dude was fighting a cheetah or something like that. But, and I'm just
I'd have to go back.
Yeah, but
I don't know.
I feel like Flex was actually like when I think about it, it seems like just because Morrison's like if Moore never gave up on comics, like or like that's how I feel about it. But I don't know.
For like for the record, Flex is 96. I looked up real quick.
Okay.
But yeah.
So, speaking of Doom Patrol, have you been watching the TV show at all?
I think I'm up to issue episode 5 or 6, but I do like it. I just haven't had that much time to sit and watch with it because none of my like stuff other than my iPad support it. So I just watch it. I have to watch it on my pad.
Oh my gosh, that seems like a hassle.
Yeah, I like it though. It's really fun. The first episode, like when I finished that, I couldn't believe that was one episode. I'm like, oh yeah, let's throw on the next one. That was great.
Yeah, no, it completely blew me away. I'm up to episode 9, I think it is, and
Okay.
there's an episode where basically they, I guess I'm going to spoil this, but I don't know if they've done this in the comics, or go into Crazy Jane's mind.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really where the episode comes, like where the show comes into its own. Like that was what sold me on the entire series. It was just like, it's like, if I would have seen that maybe 10 years ago, like the first 2 or 3 episodes, I wouldn't have been sold on it. But that episode, it's called Jane Patrol.
Mm-hmm. I like how they make the title of the episodes.
Yeah, they have one called Paw Patrol, and I was just like, you guys are fucking.
Like, you're about to get copyright strike.
Right.
Oh man. Oh, but yeah, just like it's really good acting, and the story is so like it's kind of all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think so? There's like something that I've noticed because they'll introduce characters who are supposed to be older. Like Jane was born in like '57, and Rita Farr was a movie star in like the '50s. I'm going to see if I've got this right or not, and whether or not this is going to be a deep enough cut for people. But do you think that they're going to have the whole Immortus story?
Hello?
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
I just sound like it cut for a second.
Do you think that they're going to have the Immortus storyline in there with Niles Calder? Because like I'm like they don't age at all, and they interact with people who have clearly aged. I mean, Robot Man gets a pass because he's just basically a fucking robot, but like, but everybody else is like they look really young. Like Crazy Jane does not look like she was born in '57.
Right. Is that what I don't remember them saying that exactly because I thought she shows up later, like after like in the beginning of the first episode when like Clint's sitting there for a minute, like or a minute, it's like decades or whatever, and then and then she shows up eventually. I mean, I thought it was implying that she was born like however long before she showed up. You know, I didn't think maybe I missed that. I don't because I didn't think that she was the old one, but
it turns out that she is. Like even Larry Trainer.
Oh, because in the show that's what they say, right?
Yeah,
like later on
they show that it's like they show that Jane was the manifestations of her started in 1957, and it was just like that's insane.
Wow.
Like because the show, as far as I'm aware, I think present day is 2012,
right?
Because I don't think that I don't think it's technically present day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, I think there's like 20 episodes of it, so I'm like, I don't know if they can pull. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know anything about that, honestly. Or more so. Shit. What was I gonna say about that?
So if you don't mind, if you can think about it, if you think about it, bring it up. But I wanted to ask, so I know that some of the writers who worked on Fantastic Four also worked on Doom Patrol, but do you think X-Men is a ripoff of Doom Patrol?
I mean, like at that time, there's so many different books going on. Like you can point to so many different things and be like, "Oh, this is ripping off that, and this is ripping off that." Because even like the X-Men, I mean, like the Silver Age, like the Kirby and the Lee books, they're still like they're still kind of hokey. They hadn't like come into their own, so it's still more of like a superhero book. And then like same with the Doom Patrol, like they didn't become like the world's strangest superheroes until Grant like took them into like these weird areas where like the Justice League just ain't gonna go basically.
Yeah, with like the whole Brotherhood of Dada.
Yeah, that's the thing that I really like about the show, though, is that they don't just follow his, because like I mean, his run is obviously the quintessential run that everyone loves, but they don't just follow his run. Like Rita Farr isn't included in his run at all. Like they they're doing a really good job of blending in that Silver Age. Like even when I don't know if it pays off later, but what is it, the vegetable mineral animal man that shows up like at the end of like episode 3 or something, the Asian guy, and he goes into
Yeah.
that machine. Yeah, like that's from Silver Age, like Doom Patrol issues. So I thought that was really cool how they're like reeling in all that, and then even bringing in Flex later on and whatever. Oh, that's what I was gonna say about the show. See, the thing is, kind of a spoiler alert for the Doom Patrol run, if you don't mind.
Go for it. They've had
Okay.
years.
Yeah, okay. Well, obviously. Well, the thing is, like, at the end of the run, like, you find out, like, all the different things that happened to the Doom Patrol, like, were basically by Niles Calder's hand, you know? Like, and that's what I think that I mean, you haven't finished the show, I haven't finished the show, but I feel like they could at least take it that way to where because, like, I remember they were looking for Niles Calder. So at the end of that, they could just make it to where all this shit that was happening is just like him and he's just testing him basically. Because that's kind of what happens. Like at the end of the run, you just realize he's just this huge piece of shit. Which that kind of lines up with Xavier too. So I guess that is, could be ripping
Really?
off. But
hold on. I actually I want to ask you about that because I know that there was a split in the X-Men and that there was like some questionable actions that Xavier took. But what like does he like? How dirty does it get?
well, okay, so a lot of them usually come from books that like get made later on talking about the past. Like
Yeah.
there's like one book where it's just insinuating or more than just insinuating, but it's basically saying like he wanted to like get with Jean Grey the whole time, But like there's even like Deadpool books where like like they're like poking fun at that, like they even know like yeah, that was weird. So, that sort of thing. But then there's even like there's a story about there was an original team of X-Men before like Cyclops, Beast, and all them, and they ended up dying, and like that's why Xavier got these new kids basically.
Oh, wasn't okay. I think I know about that one. That's Cyclops's one of Cyclops's brothers. It's not Havoc. It's another one, but he's on par,
Yeah,
like he's almost Omega level or something like that.
I'm trying to think of what his name is right now too, but yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I feel like they could. I always feel like because most of my exposure came from the '90s cartoon with X-Men, where it's like yeah, you might know that he's up to some shit, but I think it's because he's like he's like there's some things that I know that you can't know because it's on a need to know basis. Like it's basically
Yeah. But even with
could,
like the last episode of that show, he's like, all right, I'm fucking off to go get some space pussy. Like, peace out, bitches. It just leaves the X-Men to like. That's like how the show ends. He just leaves with Lilandra to the Shi'ar Empire, and then the X-Men are just left alone.
yeah, I don't know. Fucking oh my god, X-Men is such a weird like because of how Marvel had to harangue them out of the universe because they couldn't get the rights back, and they were like, "Fuck you, Fox. We're gonna do what we want."
They had
and
to
even,
just
go for it.
They had to just they only had like back in the day, like when we were kids, X-Men was the shit, like yeah, Captain America is cool, Iron Man's cool, but like everyone's favorite were the X-Men,
Yeah.
And it's because they didn't have those properties that they had to like prop up those other heroes and be like, no, these are our best heroes. And but even now, like in the comics, it's totally like that's how it is in the comics right now too. Like the Avengers are the best heroes, the X-Men are kind of they're just there.
Yeah,
at least for now.
And that's also because like I think Chris Claremont had so much control over it for
for like 18
long.
years.
Like that it's like how do you just say, hey, I want to borrow Beast for a second, and then people are like, fuck you, dude. I don't like Claremont could basically just well, that didn't actually happen. That was a clone of Beast, and then write 20 issues about it. And then like yeah, so it's weird. Actually, you know what's weird? I actually liked Spider-Man more than I liked that. Because like Peter Parker would just talk mad shit to the villains. Like
yeah, he's just more relatable in that sense.
Like, I feel like he could just throw like Jewish racial slurs at the Green Goblin and hey, like, oh my gosh, just like it looks like this one got out of the gas chamber too early and then kick him like I don't know. My God. Like, but it was just like,
and there goes half our audience.
I don't know. No, but think about it. Like, it was just I felt like Spider-Man was more witty, whereas like X-Men was just it felt like watching a soap opera to me.
Yeah,
it's like
well,
That's
I
exactly
mean,
what it is.
not only is it a soap opera, but the cartoon kind of reinforced that whole soap opera vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had those long arcs, and like if you miss one episode, you know, like you're gonna have to go back eventually because you're gonna miss some shit.
Yeah. And not just go back. Like, I have to go back
Yeah.
now that I'm 31 and it's on Netflix. I have to
Oh,
go
they put
back.
it back on Netflix.
I think so.
Yeah, I remember it
Wait,
was on Hulu for a minute. That's where I watched it again a few years
Yeah,
ago.
it's on one of the streaming services.
For sure.
because they go deep, dude. They get into like the Morlocks and shit like that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? And like even what's his face is in there. Not Modoc.
Mojo?
Mojo. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had that
Like,
toy growing
oh my
up.
god.
that's a fucking terrifying toy to have.
Dude.
Like, if it were a
Yeah.
nightlight, just
Yeah.
It's like his eyes are all peeled back and shit. Yeah, Modoc's fucking gnarly looking.
oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's what happens when you buy your toys from a thrift store. I'm just
Or you get them from a thrift store. Or what was weird is I don't know if like the McDonald's toys in the '90s like were always like they were like it was like they were almost toys.
Right.
Like where it's just like, oh, it's like Wolverine, and you press a button, and he literally just his claws come out, and that's it. He doesn't move or anything.
Remember the
Like-
when the Power Rangers movie came out? Like those ones were the best because you had like little figures and they had the case of their Zord. You know, like those were pretty boss.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
my
they go for it.
Oh, I was just say like my cousin, my aunt, she had worked at McDonald's at the time, and so like when I would go down to my cousins, they had like all of them already, and I only had like maybe like the blue one or whatever, but he had like the white one and shit. I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
But yeah, those are the best. Like, but I mean, they can't do shit like that anymore. They can't give you like legit toys. They have to give you some bullshit.
they have Beyblades at McDonald's, and I don't know if they're tournament legal.
They're not, dude. They're
Oh,
not
that's-
tournament legal. They can't
They-
can't break.
They don't
I've
have
gone
the
so
fusion
far into the rabbit hole.
It's, no, like we watched. Okay, so I just want to let you know we watched the Beyblade World Championships from 2018.
Oh
Not only did we figure out the meta by the end of it and found out $60 Beyblade, but we got copyrights. We got copy strike by them
For what?
because we didn't edit the sound out, and so I guess
Oh
they
my
picked up on
God.
it. But it was first off, it was kind of surreal. I was like, wow, there's an actual fucking metagame to this if everybody's playing the same deck or the same bay. But yeah, no, it's its own little world,
Yeah.
and I would love to revisit it one of these days. But so it's
That's-
insanely in depth.
That's kind of fascinating for some strange reason. I don't know why.
It's because you played Yu-Gi-Oh, like you know that it's like they're like it's not just I'm gonna stick all the most
Right.
cards in
That's
one
just
deck.
crazy. Yeah, just replace it for the Beyblades, I guess, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Exactly.
like there's Magic, there's Yu-Gi-Oh, and there's Beyblade.
And then there's Beyblades. Okay.
Uh,
And then
Could you
Pokemon
imagine
somewhere.
going? Like Pokemon? Oh shit! Oh my god, dude! Pokemon. I don't think Pokemon's a real card game. I don't. I think it's as close to emulating the video game as it possibly can, because there was like a Whale Lord format where somebody went to nationals with a stall deck and won, or got to like
no.
top 8, and it was just I'm like, you can't do that in real cards. Like, never ever does somebody win with like a mill deck. So it's just a weird game. Like it's not a card game. It's pretty fucking close to the game. Like the more that I think about it, because card advantage means dick in that game. Like they have cards that are just like draw 23 cards. Like, attach all of the energy of this color to this Pokemon. Like it's just
They're at
it's like
4.
it's what the fuck is this? Like, could you imagine that sort of like? Well, I don't know. Card of Demise is pretty close, but like in Yu-Gi-Oh, there's just nothing that even rivals it that doesn't have super fucking like it doesn't have the like.
Yeah. I feel like it's just supposed to be kid friendly, so they're just like, fuck it, let's run it.
Like I don't know how Yu-Gi-Oh appeals to kids right now because summoning, I'm like, dude, there's way too much going on. Like
Yeah.
I only know because I've been on the ride this long But what fucking 7-year-old is going to look at that and be like, I understand? Nobody. No fucking kid. So
Seriously.
convoluted.
Yeah, it's gone so far. It's not even close to what it used to look like. Even like when we were playing, even like because it's like when we were like looking back at like when I was a kid playing is like way different. But like looking from when I was a kid to where it is now, it's like two different games.
It's way two different games, and I think that's why a lot of people like the older formats. Like people have SJC Edison decks. They have people have Dragon Rulers. What really, I think that was the most skillful format that we're gonna have in a long fucking time. And Goat Control. I don't like Goat Control as much because it feels like there's still like you could brick in Goat Control.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Right now, me and a friend have Billy Breaks plant deck that we've been playing. That's really fun.
I think that's just after Edison.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that was too far after. I don't remember. But yeah, like one of the ones he won when he did the 2 back-to-back.
Oh, yeah.
We got 2 copies of that, and we've just been playing that one. That one's really fun.
Is that the one with Nimble Hamsters and Dad?
No, like Tour Guide and Tengu.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. That was a really good deck.
That's great.
Triple Maxi, triple Core Guide, triple Tengu.
Oh, stop.
And then you
nostalgia.
It's like double Lone Fire, and then Spore and
Glow Up.
Yeah, that was it.
That's all you need.
It's plants. That's like playing a blue deck and like because I put an
Yeah, or like
that's like Dandy Warrior deck, right? I haven't played that one.
Dandy Warrior was fun, but like Drill Warrior was kind of insane. Like it was.
Dude, oh man, that was such a fun like puzzle trying to put that together when Pete wouldn't tell us his list, and then we tried so hard to figure it out.
Rick, what the fuck are you doing?
Why? What happened?
What is that sound? What is going on?
That sounded like the mic went like down your throat for a second.
No, I'm right here.
I'm sorry. I'm right at the dentist right now, and just
there's just some commotion going on in my house. I was trying to cover my mic so it doesn't get on.
It's all good.
Sorry about that.
No,
it's all good.
It's not the worst thing that's ever happened on stream or on on the podcast.
I think yeah, no, I think it's not the worst thing that's happened.
And it's not the worst that will ever happen because I'm sure there's going to be some shit.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. When I do the Juggalo gathering, dude, what's going to happen is I'm gonna get Violent J to come on, and he's gonna just say some shit we're just not ready for.
No, we're not.
Woo woo.
Exactly, dude. I'm gonna fucking pour a Fago fountain for him.
Fountain?
Oh my god.
Just streaming live as I pour blue cotton candy Fago on Violent J on his grease paint and it won't wash off because it's grease paint.
And we'll call you the Great Malenko.
The Great. Fuck out of here.
Oh my god.
Oh dear Lord. So let's see. Where were we going next? I know that we have more stuff to talk about.
I was gonna propose a interesting topic. For our guest Rick. If you had to choose a series of comic to get into, if you are a first time reader, what would be the comic to get you hyped and reading?
Okay, that's a little tough, honestly.
So
I think there's some. All right, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
Before you answer, I just want to ask Van: are you asking this for yourself or for somebody else?
For a friend. For my friend Pat.
His name is Namlips Nav. That's just your name backwards. Namlips Nav. Okay.
For my friend Van, the Blue Jay.
I think honestly, like he's going through All Star Superman right now. I think that's just like that's a really solid comic to pick up, and because it's like a start to finish comic,
Mm-hmm.
which because like that's like the issue right now because it's the same thing like for everyone who would like to read or who is even remotely interested. When you go to the comic book store or even go to Barnes and Noble, like where do you even start? You know, there's literally like one whole row that's devoted to Batman. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to read Batman, where do you even start with that? You know,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like manga, like a lot of more people read that. And if you go to the manga side, you go like, I want to read Attack on Titan or I want to read My Hero Academia. Like, where do you start?
Mm-hmm.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that's like a big problem. But I think All Star Superman, like that was like one we had talked about a little bit, but that's just a really good comic that I think a lot of people will like. A lot of people, that's like another thing, like the movies kind of court the perception of these characters. So like a lot of people will think that maybe Fantastic Four or Green Lantern aren't very cool because the movies weren't.
Mm-hmm.
But like same thing with Superman. Like a lot of people just don't know that much about Superman. So like I feel like he's just a good character and he's like kind of where it all started, at least like
Mm-hmm.
popularity wise. And All Star again, like that's what I was saying. Like it's only 12 issues and it's just contained in one story, so you get like that fulfilling thing without like modern comics are more decompressed. So like you get one story over six like issues or so.
Mm-hmm.
So when you buy like a collected, it's still not even quite fulfilling because it's like yeah you finished that story arc, but then there's like plot threads to like the next arc that they want to like loop you into, you know. So
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
you know.
That's just to add on to that. That's how I felt reading Batman. All right, it's just like there's it seems like there was a lot going on that I had bargained for. I just want to read about Batman dying.
You didn't like Batman R.I.P.?
Well, no, it's just like I felt like there was. I felt like there was like a reading list that accompanied it, where it was because there was a lot going on going in. Now, it wasn't Gaiman who wrote it, was it?
No, that was Morrison.
Yeah, it was Morrison. Morrison writes that little like. No, Gaiman wrote Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader, right?
Right.
Okay, and so I just remember like reading it, and I was just like, "This is neat," but he's also like, it was alluding to other stuff about to happen.
Yeah.
And it was just, I don't know. Go for it.
I mean, like, I don't know how much you've read because like that's part of his whole run, you know, that's just like one section of it. Like the RIP trade, that's I mean, there's like 10 Batman, there's 10 trades in his run. There's like 50 plus issues in that run.
Jesus.
So I mean, like I think RIP and like Final Crisis in general are both pretty polarizing arcs. Like usually people are pretty indifferent or like really love it. I really like RIP. Just I think like the it's again it's like you were saying, like if you're not familiar with those callbacks, then it kind of like maybe it doesn't hit, you don't get any of that you don't have any of that affinity for those things. And so, yeah,
right.
so just basically if you're not familiar with with those Silver Age concepts from Batman, they're just kind of not going to hit you as hard as like with the RIP, because he does like a lot of callbacks with like Zur-En-Arrh and with Batmite. And even with like Zur-En-Arrh, it seems random at the time, but like he like loops it back into the run at the end of it, which is really nice. Like I don't know, he does the whole like, because he always does like, he gives you part of the story, he gives you pieces of the story as you go along and then at the end it's like a big payoff for everything. And even with Batman he did it, like he does stuff like that where he feeds you certain things, where like there's a point where Batman's falling through time, like after his bout with Darkseid, and like he starts off in the caveman era, and he basically starts off he like gets this bat pelt and he like saves these other cavemen, and it perpetuates what will become this cult that worships this bat god. And as he's like further going through time, he gets to a point where like the group has grown into this cult that worships this god called the Black Glove, and they're trying to sacrifice Bruce Wayne to the god that is Bruce Wayne, you know, like they're trying to sacrifice Bruce Wayne to Bruce Wayne.
Oh my god.
So you know, he just takes it really far.
Grant Morrison and his stupid this movie, that fucking bullshit. Oh my god. Just here's the Christ myth, but with Batman.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Or like with the Invisibles, like it's kind of like some Lovecraftian stuff, I guess, too, because like there's the adversaries that come from an angle that can't be pointed to, you know, so it's like that sort of thing, but they're like interdimensional. It's, I mean, like there's a lot of correlations between that book and the Matrix. So like there's like these interdimensional like creatures that, you know, work from the shadows as well, or work from beyond time as well.
Wow.
So like those like themes come up a lot, where it's basically like this huge creative guy, like his biggest fear is just being stopped from being able to be created, you know, being subjugated by someone else's will. Like that's basically what it comes down to.
Wow. So so the problem with comics is also kind of the problem with wrestling, where it's just really long form storytelling. It's just hard to pinpoint where you should get into it.
Yeah, and then plus it's the corporate element too. So it's like they just want more stories, more stories, more stories. So it's like even
Hmm.
if you find like some number one of something, like it might not be that good, honestly, because you know, like some people, like it's just a job for them, you know. They
Mm.
don't always, like, you know, that's why a lot of people like the independent comics right now, because that's where you're going to get like these people's, like, you know, it's their own creator own stuff, so they're not going to be holding back anything because it's going to be their own stuff. Like it's just obvious when some people like hold back their good ideas when they're working on like a property that's owned by a big company, like that sort of thing. But like with like Morrison right now is writing Green Lantern, and like that dude's worth millions. He has like Happy on TV and stuff like that. So like, he's made plenty of money. So it's like when he comes back to do a book, you know it's gonna be special because he doesn't have to do it. Like he does it because he loves the medium.
Yeah. But so you would say, just to kind of call back and give the easy answer, All Star Superman is a really good comic to get into comics, as it were.
Yeah, he's definitely. It's a one and done story. It's really dense. You'll get a lot out of it. Each issue is just its own story. So I mean, even if you just read like issue by issue, you're not like getting this huge cliffhanger at the end of every issue. It's like you get a good story and you're like, all right, I can digest this and go to the next one some other time.
Okay. So there's something that you brought up, and I kind of want to hear what you have to say about it, because I've never thought about it now, and it made me real, like, because we know each other outside of it, but it put a lot of things into perspective for me. You mentioned that manga was displacing the comic book industry, and I didn't realize that's exactly what's happening,
Yep.
because it's a linear thing, and I'm just like, so if you were to fix that, how would you do it?
Man, that's hard, but I think there's a lot of different ways you can take it. I think if we, because like you don't want to just fire every creator that works in comic books just to whittle it down to so many titles, you know, like if there's like an ebb and flow to this sort of thing. It's like there are some really great comic books that are produced from Marvel and DC like currently, but then also you get that 180 effect where like the books aren't as good as, like, I mean they're the exact opposite. You know, you get someone like Grant Morrison is putting out this work that's a labor of love, and you get someone else who maybe not as experienced who's trying to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, somebody who's been given a title that they really
Yeah,
didn't want
maybe they
to.
weren't ready for, or I don't know, like Marvel right now, it seems like that they don't pay their creators that much because you get these really I don't know, just inexperienced artists on books that don't, I mean, they're serviceable, but they're nothing to talk about. They're nothing that is going to stand the test of time like other works, you know.
Mm.
Just really quick, there's a couple more questions that I have, but this is just me wanting to nerd out and get some actual opinion on it. What's your opinion of Cosmic Ghost Rider?
Okay, so the comic that okay, so Donny Cates right now, he did the Thanos run that introduced him, and then he did the Cosmic Ghost Rider mini. Like, have you read any of it, or?
I haven't read it. I've basically read a bunch of Wikipedia summaries on it, because it was like I like Ghost Rider because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like he's a comic book character with a lot of potential, but there's never really been a definitive run on it. Like every time that I try and look into it, somebody's like, "You should read this," and I looked into it, and I'm just like, "Dude, this is just like some lazy fucking writing." Like they always fall back onto like he's one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, and we're just gonna follow Revelation panel by panel, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, I'm just like, okay. And so when I heard about Cosmic Ghost Rider, I was like, this actually sounds like, it sounds like one hell of a ride. I kind of want to read it, and I should, but making time.
Hold on, can you give me a second?
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can. Yeah, we can
I'm
talk
sorry, just
about.
one
We can
second.
bring up our sponsor today.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're sponsored by the Juggalo Gathering. If you haven't gotten your tickets, going on. I don't fucking know. I don't.
Yeah, Fago. We are sponsored by Fago. If you haven't tried our new watermelon blast, it's delicious, and it will make you wet with flavor.
We're gonna get Hatchet Man ASC2 arts at our comments, just like "Don't you dare knock it." Like, I saw a dude with a Hatchet Man symbol the other day tattooed on his inner forearm, and I wanted to engage. Hey man, what's going on? Whoop whoop and all that, and just like completely butcher it. But it was just like I don't know if this is gonna go into a real conversation or not. And I don't know if I want to have one with you.
That's pretty funny. So well, Rick's away. I don't know how long he's gonna be, but I'll talk about some stuff that happened this week at my work.
Okay, what's going on?
I got a write up.
Did you really? What did you do?
So I was sitting down and on my phone, and the new boss that the dinner service got, he saw me and was like, "Don't you have something to do?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, I could start prepping, I guess," because the other chef was on break, and I guess I just pissed him off. This is also the guy that got the job over me, so like, there's been like this weird like tension, yeah, and so
could you hold on? Could you cut the tension with a knife?
Oh yeah, butcher knife.
With a butcher knife, with a like not a serrated
edge. Like, yeah, we need something sharp. And so that, and then like there is this. The servers are pretty like, I don't know how to put it without sounding like an asshole. The servers, like, they'll come in the busiest time of the night, like during the rush, and just ask really dumb questions like, what's the soup? What's in the soup? And it's like cream of mushroom soup. It's cream and mushroom. Like,
like I don't know how to spell this for you without making it sound like I'm being condescending. But...
Yeah, but it's just like, I'll also have like 10 tickets in the window, and these old people, they don't just like the special the way it is. They like it with like crazy substitutions, and it's just not fun. And so anyways, for the write-up that I got, it wasn't, this company doesn't just like give you a write-up and they're like, this is your write-up. No, I had to sit in a meeting with the chef boss and this new boss, and they wrote on this paper about how I come into work tired and exhausted.
What?
Yeah. I'm like, what? Okay. Like, yeah, it's 11 o'clock in the morning. Did I just wake up at 10:30 to come here? Yeah. Like, it's just stupid. Like, why would you put that on a report? Like, come on.
Like, and the fact that it's like they're writing you up to get, like, it's one of those things where it's like, because you've told me you're taking on like a bunch of, you're working a lot. Like,
yeah.
How long are your shifts normally?
8 to 8.5. And then every now and then I'll pick up like an extra hour here or there. And then it, like, when I was first working there, I was working like 2 different not like jobs. Yeah, I was working like 2 different positions at that place. And so I was working like 12-hour shifts, 13-hour shifts. It was it was pretty crazy. So, I'm in this meeting, and I don't deal with people telling me what I do wrong really well. So like I just internalize it. And so they said I looked tired. They said I mismanaged my time because I was on my phone. And they also said that I have been snappy and talk under my breath for when like working with the servers, which I'm doing that because of what I had already explained. So I need to work on my attitude. And in the write-up, they say, due to Oregon law, you have, if you work 8 hours, you get a 30-minute break and 2 10-minute breaks. And like right after I got out of the meeting, I was like looking at that, like why he put that on there. And I was just like, why didn't I just say I was on my break? Like,
I don't know. I think you need to find a better paying job because it's really hard to be motivated and to keep going. And
yeah, no, it's time. Like, it's time to stop fucking around. But there's this really good like Christmas bonus that they pay you like every hour that you work, it's like $2.50 towards your bonus. And so since I work so much, it adds up really quick. And so I'm going to be there till December.
So you're just going to take the money and run?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's like, I really like the place, but after that, I'm just like, maybe it's time for something else.
I think so. Like it's also like there's a handful of things. Like I'm pretty sure that you took that job because it's one that you get. Like yeah. So it's there's a lot of fucking state, Oregon. I don't mean to talk shit about Oregon, but it's just like there's a lot of people that I've met who will not take certain jobs, and like it's almost like entry level is beneath them. So there's a lot of stuff open, and a lot of people are gravitating towards a $15 model. So just find you a job doing that.
Yeah, I'm actually looking on Indeed right now, and there's a graphic design position for Dutch Bros that just got posted.
You could always go for that. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You have enough of a what can I think of it? Portfolio. There we go.
Yeah. See, that's so that's my only gripe with graphic design. It's like, oh, how can I do this in a really like snooty way? It's like, oh, in your portfolio, I hope you have enough examples of work. Like, I don't know what that was, but it's just like sometimes like you. All right, if you're a graphic designer listening to this right now, always bring your portfolio with you, even if they don't ask you, because they're gonna ask it for it anyways, and then that it's just dumb. So,
and truth be told, Dutch Bros isn't really. It's just like it's a windmill. We get it. Like, I hate it, and I'm gonna bitch and moan about this till I'm out of this fucking state, which will be for about 6 months. With those stupid fucking. Why is there an espresso shop in every single parking lot? It doesn't happen in other states. It's not a real thing. Stop trying to make it a real thing. Like I can't tell you how many different like X coffee or Y coffee places, and it's just like, dude, I get it. It's a cheap business model, but just like even in California, if you had one like that, it was like, I'm not gonna get coffee. No, like no, like hell, coffee wasn't really a thing in California. Like you would, like it wasn't until Starbucks came around, where like all of a sudden, like because I'm trying to think, like 90, like think back to 97. There were no fucking Starbucks. If people got coffee, they made it at home, or they went to a fucking they went to a donut shop somewhere like that. Nobody gave a shit about their coffee. Like it was just that now Starbucks comes along and it's like, oh, everybody has, and it's just like, dude, it's just fucking coffee.
Yeah.
I went to a coffee shop the other day, and a friend of mine asked for a coffee, and he was holding his dog outside, and it was just like, I go in there, his mom is with me, and she's ordering it. And she's like, "What did he want?" And I was like, "Oh, he just wants a coffee." And then I looked at the menu, and it's like, "Just get him an americano." So it was just like, this is not a nobody cares, dude. Like, just like nobody. You're a cafe. You have drip coffee. It's not hard to make. I don't know. I hate it. I hate it so much. Oh, trying to think. So I've actually been studying for the air traffic control thing for a little bit this week, and oh my gosh, it is there's a like I'm learning that I have to sort of censor myself when it comes to this stuff. Like I not only do I have to figure out like what I can and can't say and what I do, like and when it's like I like there's a huge deal about even talking about it because you don't want to misrepresent the agency, and it's so weird.
Oh wow.
So when I talk about this, I'm talking about this as somebody who's not a member of the FAA. I'm talking about this strictly as an entertainer. Don't copy strike me. No.
This is free
fair
use. Fair use.
It's all fair use. No, but it's just like really interesting stuff, and I was
lay down.
Like if I were to look at an airport, I would know exactly what I was looking at, and it's just weird to like, oh wow.
Give me a second.
I swear, as long as I don't get contacted by by the 3 people in Russia who listen to us, you want to help us fly some? No. There's stuff that just like that boggles my mind that I want to talk about this on the air.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
We got our guest back.
We got our guest back, guys.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Oh,
That's
you're
all right.
it's totally understandable.
All right, everything's good now.
All right.
So what else did you have that you wanted to ask me though? I know you said you had a few questions about certain things.
Yeah, no. Like, so we were talking about we were getting into the corporate aspect of comics, but before we did that, I wanted to ask you what your opinion on Cosmic Ghost.
On which one?
Cosmic Ghost Rider.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So Donny Cates was like up and coming. Like I had heard about him a little bit, but I hadn't read any of his indie stuff. And he did this Thanos series, and he did the last 6 issues on the series before it ended. And it was an arc called Thanos Wins. It was it's one of the few best comics like I've get in the last few years of comics. You know what I mean? It's just basically like Thanos is doing his thing or whatever, you know. And it basically, the Cosmic Ghost Rider shows up and he's like, all right, like I need you to come with me. And I mean, of course they fight or whatever, but Thanos ends up getting taken to the future and he meets the future version of himself. And you just get to learn about how Thanos basically killed everyone and he's the best, like the Celestial, like the Watchers watch and everything, but Thanos wins at the end of the day. But like, so I liked Cosmic Ghost Rider a lot more in that series than I did when he had his own spinoff, because it was just they're just trying to make Frank Castle into kind of like a Deadpool clone, you know. Which I mean, the mileage may vary for some people, you know. I'm not the biggest Deadpool fan, but in the Thanos Wins, arc, he was really good. But I think he's kind of like one of those characters where, you know, need to be used a little bit more sparingly, or maybe just used by Donny Cates because he does a good job at handling him. Because I haven't read Cosmic Ghost Rider Destroys the Marvel Universe, but the people that I do the reviews with, I haven't heard anything good about it. One person was doing the book, and then they like asked if someone else wanted to do it, basically.
Oh my gosh!
And then someone else said the same thing, like, because we have that group chat, and then at the end of when they were done with the newest issues, they're like, "Yeah, man, like I'm gonna do this issue, but I don't want to do it after this either."
Wow.
Wow. See, but that's the thing is like Ghost Rider once again huge potential,
Mm-hmm.
but it always comes down to lazy writing. Like it always comes down to like nobody really knows where to go with them. That's because I feel like Marvel lacks in like the magic department. Now, I know
I
Doctor Strange is awesome, but I just feel like it's like it's not their cup of tea. Like,
Yeah, I think it's also like there's like multitudes to that. Obviously, there's like I mean, there's a lot to like just the success and failure of comics in general. But I think like after the '90s boom, like after like Rob Liefeld and Jim Lee, like they left to go do Image Comics. Like Marvel doesn't want to bolster those creatives like that anymore. You know, like they're about like, no, you're coming to read Wolverine. You're not coming to read like Barry Windsor Smith's Wolverine or whatever. You know, like they want it to be more about their product than necessarily about the creator, because like that's how it used to be, you know, like even before, like I'd watch this interview with this cartoonist Ron Friends, and he drew Spider-Man and Thor for a period of time, but he talked about like he wanted people to come to the book and just read Spider-Man, like it wasn't about this big thing like, hey, but it's me drawing Spider-Man, you know. And eventually there's a point like in the 90s when like those guys moved to Image, they're like, it's about me, you know. And like I think Marvel kind of like fuck themselves over with that one, because they put so much weight onto these creators, and then they're like, well, we can make way more money if we just make our own books and leave Marvel. And then that's what they did.
well, to be fair, I mean Rob Liefeld is like the antichrist to comics. Like he kind of he I think he
No, I definitely agree to where it's like a lot of the stuff he does is just not anatomically correct, but like those kids of the 90s, like that's not what they cared about. They wanted to see that big flash and that sort of thing. And so like now those guys are like in their 30s and they just have that nostalgia for Rob Liefeld. It's like he's still in the industry and he made this book. It's just really lame and I guess kind of contrived, to where it's like there's this new book called Major X, and he just looks like Deadpool wearing a helmet. But then we find out it's Cable's son, which is another one of Rob Liefeld's creations, you know, Cable. But it's
Cable.
like
Oh my god.
but that thing sold out like crazy. Like you can't find a copy of that on shelves because people love Rob Liefeld because of the 90s, you know. It's like, even though like, and at this point it's like almost like he's self-aware. Like you don't even see the ankle, you don't see like from ankle down, you know, you see a bunch of pouches. Like he totally knows what he's doing. Like he has found his market, you know. And he placates to them, which is, it is what it is. I'm not crazy about him. You know,
So
that mileage doesn't run very far.
yeah, no, like that actually kind of segues into the next thing that I wanted to bring up, and I wanted to bring up the Avengers, the movie Avengers, or as you once lovingly referred to them as the adaptation. But um, so you know you are you aware of the story of how Marvel Studios came to be, like in
I mean, in
because
a roundabout way, but I mean, like, if you have something different, I'd love to hear it.
okay, so from the story that I heard, I read an article. I think it was a Forbes article. So it turns out in the so we you know uh, Marvel was going bankrupt in the 90s. They
Right.
were, and so they sold off all their. They were trying to sell off all their IP. In fact, they tried to go to Sony to sell them all of the IPs that they had for 25 million. I may have the numbers wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And Sony turned them down and were like, "We'll take Spider-Man for 7." Like,
Wow.
Marvel took the money. They sold the rights to Spider-Man, and we got 2 good Spider-Man movies and 3 terrible ones.
Yeah.
Uh, and so what had happened is they were still bleeding money into the 2000s. Like people are like, yeah, that like. And what had happened was there's a CEO who came in. I forget his
Is it
name.
Avi Arad?
No. It's before Avi Arad. This dude teamed up with like Toy Biz and shit like that, and that's actually where they were getting a lot of their money from collectibles.
No,
Like,
that's Avi Arad. Yeah, Toy Biz.
okay, yeah. So it was Avi Arad, and somebody came in after Avi Arad. Really liked the idea of having the IP that they had as collateral. They went
Mhm.
to I may be butchering this story, but I know that they went to Merrill Lynch. They asked for a loan, and their collateral for it was all of their characters. they basically bet everything on that, and the way that they came doing it was going to make movies, and that's exactly what they did. So they started with Iron Man, and they went with. And it's really funny that you bring up that that Marvel wants you to read a book that's about Spider-Man, and they don't really want to put. They don't want the creators to do whatever
Right.
because it's like that's kind of what they're doing with their movies, even because John Favreau fell off on Iron Man. Like he was like after Iron Man 2, I don't want to do this. Joss Whedon was like after Avengers: Age of Ultron, I don't want to do this because Marvel
Yeah.
was like because Kevin Feige's got his fucking like this is what's going to happen with the universe.
Or if you remember, even Edgar Wright was supposed to do Ant-Man before too, and then he left because of a creative difference.
Oh my gosh, dude! Like that. Okay, so when I watched the first Ant Man, it was like half of an Edgar Wright movie. I was like, this
Mm-hmm.
is. And then when you watch Ant Man and the Wasp, and you're
Yeah,
just
it's
like,
fucking day and night.
like it's so different, you know? Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
difference a word to put it.
yeah,
Wasn't fond of
and-
that one.
Yeah, no, like so Ant Man and the Wasp was like here's the thing. Here's my problem with movies. Like they're all really passive. Like I don't want to be the next guy and along say that good, but it was the only one where it was and not and just coming from like a movie standpoint because it was like okay, like you're telling a really not a good origin story, but it's like you're giving us it was like the first time that I felt like these were like living, breathing characters. Like it was like, oh, okay, like I like, or at least with a villain, I didn't really give a shit about T'Challa. Truth be told, like I cared more about Eric Killmonger and the whole like arm steel shit that was going
Right.
on than I cared about fucking Black Panther.
Yeah, he was
Um,
definitely the least interesting one of the for whatever reason.
Yeah, and so it's just like, but it's just all this like passable shit. Like nobody wants anybody to take any chances. Like with the Justice League movie, and I've actually flipped my fucking stance on it, and I enjoyed Batman versus Superman. There's a lot of shit that's shoehorned in, very apparently, and I'm not sure how I feel about Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, but Ben Affleck is Batman. That whole fucking arc where it's like Batman reacting to Superman was just like this is an interesting take. Even though he did that whole thing, he did the interview. He's like, if you think Batman kills people, you live in a fucking dream world. And it's just like, yeah, it's kind of edgy, it's kind of stupid, but it was like the first time that somebody took Batman out of like the he's just an orphan reacting to like orphan shit, and it was he gave him some agency for the first time. Batman felt like an adult, or at least in a movie,
Mhm.
like because you even in the Dark Knight Rises, it's just like you just feel like a kid playing dress up, and I feel like
Yeah,
I,
he's just never been the detective, and I think that's always the big issue with the movies. It's like they just play off of one thing, you know, like even with like the Dark Knight trilogy, like he's still like I mean, he's kind of the detective, but I mean like Lucius Fox does like a lot of shit for him, whereas he could do some of that stuff on his own. But I mean,
yeah,
not to shit on that movie, but whatever.
no, it's perfectly fine. Like, dude, like honestly, no, there's not going to be any fucking pitchforks. Like, The Dark Knight is a 10-year-old movie. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of people that are still like put everything onto that movie. I mean, I liked it a lot when it came out too, but I think like I don't know. I think there's more movies to talk about now. You know, like more like the Avengers movies. I do enjoy for the most part. There's things that I'm not crazy about, but like most times I feel like I'm pretty easy to please with just like really cool fan moments. Like even just in Endgame, like when Thor came back and he was standing there with Groot and Rocket, I thought that was just fun. Like that was totally cool. He like fucked everyone up. Like when he came back with Stormbreaker and everything, like that was just fun. But then see that then there's the points of the movie where I get irritated with like the Hulk. Like he was annoying as shit in that movie. I'm like, why do we even have Mark Ruffalo here? Like it felt like he got tired of just not doing shit with the cast and just being like a CGI like stand-in or whatever. Maybe he's not even there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, let's give him something more to do. Like the same thing in Age of Ultron they did with Hawkeye. Like in the first Avengers movie, he's under the control of Loki the whole time. So in the second one, we get that whole thing where they go back to his barn and meet his family and give like Jeremy Renner something more important to do. Like I feel like that was the same thing they did with Mark Ruffalo in Infinity War, but at the cost of the Hulk. Because like the only time the Hulk was cool when he got his when he got his ass kicked by Thanos. And I guess when he lands in Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. But other than that, like he was just annoying. Like he's fighting the Hulk and he's being like unnecessary comic relief. That wasn't even that funny.
Yeah, like now that you mention it, I'm like, I don't think the Hulk actually needed to be in Endgame. Like they could have literally that conversation with the Ancient One would have been much more rewarding if it was Tony Stark.
Ooh, that is interesting. I would have liked that too. I thought that was cool that she showed up again, but like I don't know. I've seen that movie a few times now. I think again like the fan moments really get me, but some of the other stuff I'm like, some of this mileage is all right or some of the jokes don't hit, you know. I think they're just kind of obvious.
It was definitely a little bit. It was a little too jokey.
Yeah, it should have been way more depressing and I don't know. I really liked Infinity War for that though. Like I guess it's kind of like an Empire versus Jedi argument, but I just like the way like when Infinity War ends, like Thanos will return. You know, it's not about the Avengers; it's about like Thanos and his whole thing.
And then we don't even get like it's fucking weird that they killed Thanos 20 minutes into the movie.
Oh yeah, my jaw dropped. I couldn't believe
spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
they've had a month. It's one of the highest grossing movies of all time. I'm pretty sure. See it,
Especially our audience.
Oh, absolutely. They were in line opening day, just like fuck. We had to wait a week because you didn't see it.
I'm sorry, all right?
Fuck.
Shit. Call me out on my own podcast. All right.
Come to my house and shit on my furniture. You just started a war. No, but like the whole like fucking shit. I forgot what I was going to say. No, like with killing off Thanos, it doesn't feel like a rewarding fight because the Thanos that they're fighting against is basically just like it's like he's a stand-in. Like it would be like if
he just basically becomes a regular Marvel villain as opposed to being like something special like he was like with Infinity War, you know, where he just becomes that like bland villain that they have to like get over and defeat some, you know,
evil for the sake of evil, which is
yeah.
I mean, it's not like I should expect more from a movie about comic books, but it's still like how do you like Infinity War was definitely a much more well put together story.
Right.
Like this one just felt like it was like 80% fan service and 20% plot.
I feel like the issue is that it just has to be like they have to put all the pieces back together, you know, like some pieces get lost in the shuffle like Iron Man and Cap and Black Widow, but like basically they just have to put everything back together at the end of it. So I think that's where it's like not as fulfilling. Like yeah, you get the ending for Cap and you get the ending for Iron Man, but like even the Russos are basically like, well, it's not our job to care about what happens anymore. Like they just kind of like left it with these things and they just I don't know. It is what it is, basically.
Yeah. And then I just you know, I feel like I don't know where the movies are gonna go. Although I think that they're trying to lay the groundwork with the next Spider-Man movie. Have you seen the trailer, like the post Endgame trailer?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Where it's like, do you think Mysterio's bluffing? Do you think it's all part of it, like his act, or do you think like
there's like a lot of ways they could do it? Like one person I saw on some like theory thing, they were talking about like what if he's a Peter Parker in another universe, you know, and he's like playing to be this guy or I don't know, I'm not gonna go on about that one, but basically he could be lying, he could be from another universe and just be a loser and trying to be better over here. I mean, like there's gonna be some sort of obvious thing about it, but I think that they should definitely do a multiverse because that will just add something more to the universe where it's like that was the thing I was gonna say about Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like it had the tough job of following after Infinity War because like what is it really gonna bring to the table other than that after credit scene? You know, like it's basically supposed to catch up with the universe, whereas like this one is kind of like Iron Man 3 after the first Avengers. Like everyone's gonna clamor to go see this already, and then once they said multiverse, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm there first day. Like before, I'm like, I'm definitely gonna see it, but once he said multiverse, I'm like, okay, I'm there first day because I need to know what the hell's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are gonna feel the same way.
And I also think that it's gonna make or break whether or not Shield is an actual like reliable.
That's
like,
another thing too. How do you
because
did
like
they not know about this?
because like I think that's the whole reason. Like that makes me think that maybe Mysterio's not lying, because if Nick Fury is showing up and saying like, yeah, this is a multiverse, unless Mysterio is just, unless they do like a fucking Usual Suspects and Mysterio's just that fucking good. It's just like the greatest like trick the devil ever pulled was convincing you that Shield doesn't exist, and then it's just fucking like Nick Fury disappears, and it's just him in the fucking Bahamas, just should I
Damn.
attack you, Peter Parker? And then like I don't know.
Right. Oh, and okay, I'll go back to that first theory because they talk about, see, there's like a scene where Mysterio's talking and there's someone else in the background, and they're basically implying that it could be like a Mandarin sort of situation where it's like he's not even Mysterio, maybe someone else is Mysterio, and he's just referring to Jake Gyllenhaal.
Because I feel like Mysterio, like, one, they're showing like Hydro Man and all that shit.
Yeah, those
And
are
I
definitely.
get those are Mysterio solutions. They're not
Yeah.
like it's so obvious.
Yeah, you're not pulling that wool over my eye, all right?
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I thought it was like a clever way to bring in those multiple, like, kind of like elemental villains, like, and just use them all in one go. I think that'll be cool.
Because the first movie in Phase 4 is Shang-Chi. That's why I'm like, what the fuck? Like, which every time
Master
that I think
of Kung Fu.
and I'm just like, every time that I think about it, I'm like, it's because they're trying to make up for the mess that was the Iron Fist TV show. Like, that show was
Ooh,
so
that's true.
fucking bad. Like, I don't know. How do you
I
have
tried so hard.
Yeah, I tried to. It looks so cheap and just so like, because I mean, at the time, I still haven't seen any other ones except Daredevil, so I only compared it to Daredevil.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, this doesn't even look like they're in the same universe. Like,
Yeah,
just looks like a CW show.
Yeah.
it was bad. And honestly, Luke Cage I thought it was balling. Like, it was,
Oh, Luke Cage was amazing.
Like, I was just like, okay, I dig it. Like, they have this moment where he's actually in the Power Man outfit.
Right.
It's like,
I've seen the screenshots of that one.
It's so like such a good show, but like I think it's just like lies within the premise. I'm sure that there's a good run on it, because I know that after Miller did Daredevil, like there was a little bit more focus on the Hell's Kitchens, like side heroes, like the B tier heroes, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it's just Iron Fist is literally the only superhero fractor, and it's just like he can punch really hard once a day. That's it. Like, that's all you got. Like, kung fu. Like, you're basically a shitty Batman. Like, I don't know. It's I can't get on board with it. Like,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, now they have the X-Men property and the Fantastic Four and stuff like that. But like with Shang-Chi, it kind of seems like scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like, who's really asking for a Shang-Chi movie?
But especially who's asking for a Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
I mean, anyone who's, like, I get that too, but like they still have like their niche little audience. Like if you've ever read like Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning's Annihilation and their run on Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean that's like where like at least the look of the team came from. But yeah, I see what you mean with that though, definitely too.
Yeah,
that one was definitely an oddball at the time.
I feel like Marvel isn't just scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I think it's just more or less that they're trying to get us into, like, because think about it this way: it took us up until Doctor Strange, which is right before Infinity War, that had shit. Everything up until Infinity War was basically like the idea of magic and universes and stuff like that. Like, they've been easing this idea in.
Right. Whereas Doctor Strange, yeah, they introduced a lot.
And I feel like that, like, Shang-Chi is going to, like, what's this whole, if they're going to go, because if it is the Mandarin, isn't he Shang-Chi's father, if I'm remembering that correctly, or am I getting him all fucked up?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I could look real quick, but yeah, I don't think so, honestly.
There's also a really bitchin' Curtis Mayfield song called Kung Fu, and if they don't use that in the trailer, they're fucking lost my like, dude. Like, I think about shit whenever they announce things. I'm just like, use this. I honestly want them to take the Fantastic Four, my idea for the Fantastic Four, what I want them to do with it, is to set it in the fucking 60s because they can't. Like, just
They could do it to where like they set it in the 60s and then say like maybe when they went into space like the original origin, maybe they got like trapped in some sort of, like maybe they went to the negative zone or something, and then when they finally come out of the negative zone, present day, but they haven't aged.
but
Ooh.
I also feel like you can't. I feel like they're not going to touch Fantastic Four because there's two. Because one, I don't even know if what the fuck is his name? Who did Legion on TV? David Halsey? No, that's somebody else. But
I don't know.
Legion?
Yeah,
The FX show.
Yeah, the guy who did that, they tapped him. Fox tapped him before
Noah,
they sold themselves to do a
Harley?
Noah Hawley. Yes,
Harley, yeah.
Noah Hawley got tapped to do a Doctor Doom movie, and I feel like I think it got scrapped once Fox got sold to Disney,
Right.
which makes sense. But honestly, I feel like it's too hard to make it. I can't believe I'm bringing this up. This is going to make me a hack. I feel like making a Doctor Doom movie right now would draw too many like Donald Trump parallels. Like I think that people would just be like, oh, it'd be so easy just to go.
Oh yeah, definitely. I see that for sure.
Mm.
Like where it's just like, oh, he's just this right wing dictator. Like,
What if?
and it's like,
What if they
I'm sorry?
get Donald Trump to play Doctor Doom?
Oh my god.
This has been the worst trade in the history of Latvia. Like, fucking all right, shit. I mean, that'd be the best thing for him to do after vacating the White House is just like, oh, he got cast as Doctor Doom. I'd be like, shit.
I gotta see that.
You heard it here first, folks.
You're fired, Richards. Fuck, dude. That'd be some shit.
See, what if like the Fantastic Four gets trapped and like they have the young Doom and then like but he stays and so like he comes like they could.
Ooh, that's
like,
really good. Yeah, and then he gets to build Latveria up and everything, and when they come back, they're like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I like that.
Like, but I don't
like that.
Yeah, they're also not going to touch. They're not going to touch the X-Men with a fucking 10-foot pole. Like they have to. What's that?
I'm sorry. Feige was talking about like at least 5 years. I don't know if that was real that I saw, but I mean, like it was like a quote. And I'm like, dude, 5 years? Seriously? You guys are fucking slipping.
Yeah.
You gotta remember, like the amount of shit that like Fox has worked into the jumble fuck that is the X-Men cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Like I stopped watching after Days of Future Past because I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. Like I was like, there's way too much going on. Oh no, I did watch Logan, so. But that was a really good movie. Like honestly, I think that's the best comic book movie I've ever seen. Where I've been like, this is just good.
It wasn't like paint by numbers sort of shit. It was really good.
Yeah. But I don't like because it's like, how do you even introduce the concept of mutants without doing a hard?
Probably something with the snaps. Because there's there's like the Hulk snap, there's like the multiple Thanos snaps. So I mean, and then there's Iron Man snap. So I mean, there's a lot of shit that could have happened, you know.
Oh man! Just by the way, I almost cried because when Iron Man snapped and he's like Iron Man, I was like,
oh dude, I was totally misty-eyed. I won't lie.
I'm like just because I was just like, oh, we're gonna do it like that, like fuck this shit, like
right.
Like,
Same with Cap though. The first time I watched it, like I started getting a little like emotional. Like, wait, Cap picked up Mjolnir, and I'm like thinking Thanos is about to kill him right now. This is gonna suck.
Oh shit!
Like I was like, fuck, he's gonna die. But yeah, obviously not. Same with not necessarily I thought he was gonna die, but the ending when he's taking the stones back in time, and like there's a minute where he's not come back yet. For like a split second, I thought they were gonna do. I was like, "Oh, here comes Cap 4. This is how you lead into it right here."
Oh,
like I did not see him becoming old. Like I thought maybe he'd get stuck in time or something like that.
All of their fucking what's it called?
Contracts.
Yeah, all their contracts are. I think so. Like my whole thing with they're not gonna make a Captain America 4, but I do get the feeling that they're trying to maneuver things in a way in which that they can retain the same properties
Hmm.
without having to like, because we already know who Peter Parker is, but like it's, and I really hate to perpetuate Kevin Smith or give him any sort of credibility whatever. Um, oh, Rick, I just need to tell you, like a week before he was like, the last Skywalker is going to be because Skywalker is religion. The week before on the fucking podcast, I said the exact same fucking thing.
Oh my god, I heard him say that too.
And I was just like, that's gonna be what it is. Like, and then he says it, fuck you, Kevin Smith. Like, that's like when I figured out Dark Worlds were good, and then fucking Billy Bray 2 weeks later tops the fucking YCS with them. I'm like, fuck this game. Like, but no, like Kevin Smith. This sounds like some Kevin Smith shit, but it's like well, no, he did say this. He was just like, I think that they're gonna maneuver Peter Parker into the Iron Man role, like, and make him Iron Man, because he's still using the Iron Spider.
Iron Spider,
suit.
yeah. Do you think like
Oh.
more symbolic or more like straight up like he's gonna be Iron Man eventually?
I think they're gonna do something where it's an in between property where Marvel can play from, like, because I think that's what they're trying to do. Because at this point, as I said earlier, Marvel is not. They don't give like they're about making movies now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not about like making these like inspiration or like not even inspiration, you know, like these landmarks. I don't know. It's not the same thing. They're trying to make money. They're not trying to make a story, you know,
Right.
per se.
Even
Which is
though,
fine. I mean, they can. That's. I mean, it obviously
They're-
works.
Yeah, they're a company, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if the first thing I thought when the new Spider-Man trailer said multiverses, I was like, Secret Wars. Like,
Ooh, that could be cool.
that'd be.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Secret World Wars they all get brought into Battle World?
In that's the first one. In 2015, Hickman did a Secret Wars where it's basically like every cool like alternate Marvel story like has their own little place on this world. And there's like a bunch of miniseries. A lot of them are really good too, actually. That's like a right now event comics. I think that's like a really big issue with comics as well, because then it's like you're reading one thing, and unless your creator like has like a lot of clout, then more than likely their run is going to be interrupted by some sort of event that they'll have to like dedicate 3-4 months of their run to dealing with like that character like being a very insubstantial part of that event.
Yeah, I feel like that can really hamper some shit.
Like same like Donny Cates, the same guy who did like Cosmic Ghost Rider and shit. He's doing Venom right now, and then like which is really good, which I don't even like Venom in particular. He's just doing a really good job at it. But the last like 2-3 issues have been dealing with the War of Realms, which the War of Realms is good on its own. I don't think I need like every single title to tie into War of Realms, and I don't think we need like 5 miniseries to talk about the War of Realms. But that's just kind of how they do things nowadays.
Oh, I wanted to ask you about who the fuck is the Scientist Supreme? What the fuck is that? Like,
So,
I caught that in a Facebook ad, and I'm like, stop, Marvel, fucking just stop. Like,
what, it was Tony Stark, right?
no, it was somebody else. It was some woman.
I might have to look.
Because
There
it's
was
like,
or you go first. I'm sorry.
oh no, I was just I did a little bit of research, and it's like she got granted the title of Scientist Supreme. I'm like, that just seems like it's like, oh well, we're gonna do our own. And it's like, okay, all right, like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, all the fucking occult people in comics are like, you don't have to. It's not science. It's not diametric opposed to magic. Like, it's just, I don't know. What were you gonna say?
There's because Brian Michael Bendis, before he left Marvel to go to DC, he did a run on Iron Man, and like there's basically like a one-shot part of like that run where it's like you see the future, and Tony Stark is there, and he's the Sorcerer Supreme, but he's like still dealing with technology. Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
Oh my god, that sounds amazing.
It's really cool, but it's very short-lived. Like there's only like 2 or 3 appearances he makes, but that's how the run ends, is because it's like you see him before the run ends, and then when the run ends again, like you see before the run ends, and when the run ends on the last issue, he goes back to that, and it's so cool.
Oh my gosh. Um, yeah, no, I also I was gonna ask about like the weird pseudo amalgam comics that they did where they have Soldier Supreme. Is that the War of the Realms shit or?
So they did it was DC versus Marvel or and Marvel versus DC, like depending on which issue you get, they're reversed. But in the middle of that, there's like in the middle of the event, there's like a point where the characters get like I forget exactly the minutia, but like they get brought into this little pocket universe, and when they get brought in, they get meshed up with all sorts of different people. But like a lot of like I mean, not all of them are great, but a lot of them are really fun. Like there's Doctor Strange Fate, and like he's Doctor Fate, and he's wearing the helm of Naboo like Doctor Fate. But at the end of the issue, when it's revealed who he is, it's Charles Xavier.
Fuck.
So it's just like stuff like that, or like there's
There's like
Super Soldier's really cool. He's Captain America and he's Superman put together, but it's drawn by Dave Gibbons of Watchmen, so it's got like it's really clean looking, really nice.
oh, but I mean that's not what I was asking about. I was trying to. It just reminded me of that because there's also Bruce Wayne, Agent of Shield, that I was like I really want.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in Marvel comics right now, there's a couple of like weird
Ooh,
fusions of stuff, like where it's like Soldier Supreme, where it's like uh, Captain America and Doctor Strange get put together.
right. Yeah, that was in Infinity Wars. That was a bit ago now. That was maybe like not a year ago, but maybe like 8 months ago. That was another event that Marvel did. It was fun, but I mean, like it's another event, you know. But yeah, it's like the same thing. There's all these people fighting and everything, and again, I forget the exact minutia, but it's like Gamora's involved and everything, and they end up getting it's the same thing. They end up going into a pocket universe where like there's the Arachna Spider with like Moon Knight and Spider Man and that sort of thing. I mean, they're like fun, but they're just like one shot stories. The Sorcerer, or actually, they're like two issues, but the Sorcerer Supreme one was really good,
Okay.
or Soldier Supreme rather. But
So so we'll go from talking about these adaptations. Now there's one. I think this is going to be the last thing that we talk about because I feel like this is going to give us like we're going to get some mileage out of it. So
I think I know what it is.
so Watchmen, the adaptation, or not the adaptation. What did how do they refer to it? It's the guys who created Lost, but they were like they also made The Leftovers. If you've never watched The Leftovers, I would highly recommend it. It's a really good TV show. They don't do the mystery box shit that Lost did. But so I'm just so Watchmen. I'm kind of excited to see where they're going to go with it. But at the same time, I feel like you might disagree with that sentiment.
Okay, so it's like it's kind of like a hypocritical thing, which I recognize. That's why I'm stating it first off. But it's like because right now they're doing the Doomsday Clock, which is basically bringing in Watchmen into the DC universe, and at the same time they're going to do the sequel adaptation or however you want to call it, whatever it is, because it to me it doesn't look like anything like Watchmen other than the name. Um, I don't know the whole like it's got like a weird like alt right group that like worships Rorschach, which like I mean, Rorschach's pretty like I mean, if you look at it now with like the sort of like social lens that's going on, he's pretty polarizing. But I mean, in most circles, that's usually people's favorite character. So it's kind of I don't know exactly what they're trying to achieve here. They could have just I mean, on the face value, because I get it's just a trailer, but it seems like they could have just come up with a different story and be like, oh, I see the parallels to Watchmen, but it's its own thing rather than like let's make a sequel to the one of the most like well-known, most renowned comics of all time, like the only comic to ever get on like New York Times 100 bestsellers, you know? Like it's a pretty big like I mean it's not even my favorite Alan Moore comic, but just what it accomplished for the medium alone is it's hard to understate that, and I don't necessarily understand what they're trying to do with this. At least from the trailer. I'll definitely watch it though, at least the first episode.
Okay, because I feel like I know where they're coming from. Like I feel like I know why they're making. But there's a lot of stuff that like they're saying like, oh, we're not going to touch any of the old material. And they've got Jeremy Irons is playing an old Ozymandias,
Right.
but then you've got like FBI agent Blake, and it's fucking I forget her name, but she's playing it like everybody's like, oh, that's fucking Silk Spectre.
Comedians, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, like, and then there's like there's just like this whole theory that it's like it's actually just the same characters. Like the one sheriff that we see, who's got like the mustache, and he's like, well, we're just talking about the end of the. That's still like do that, but whatever. And then there's a new hero called Looking Glass, and I mean, because like if you think about it, like it's just kind of weird that they're making a TV show about it. But
Yeah.
DC's pretty lenient with their properties because they're trying their hardest to catch up with Marvel, but
Yeah, I think Warner Brothers definitely like just trying to look for something that sticks.
yeah, hopefully, I don't know, because Justice League was like, I've never seen a movie that I've been like, there's nothing you can do to make this. It's the most middle of the road movie that I've ever seen. It is a solid 5. There's just so much executive meddling.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
But for Watchmen, like in general, like I'm definitely interested because that was the part about Doomsday Clock that was most interesting is like when you come back and when you start Doomsday Clock, you get to see what the Watchmen world is like after all that shit took place. Which I think that'll be like, I mean, if it's a sequel of Watchmen, I think that'll be a really interesting part about that show is because like they'll have all that stuff to world build afterwards because in Doomsday Clock, like that world is fucked up now. Like, and eventually the people, I mean, like I know the show's gonna be way different, but like in Doomsday Clock, the people learn about what Adrian did, and that's like what makes it even like everything goes even more ballistic after all this shit happens. Like all these people died and it was for your bullshit. So it's just, so I think to me, that's the most interesting part about the show is to see like if it is directly connected to Watchmen like that, what does the world look like afterwards? Because obviously it's vastly different.
So wait, hold on. So in Doomsday Clock, like, how does that even like? I just want to know, like, how do they even open the door into?
Rorschach's journal at the end of Watchmen, he gives it to that newspaper or the publisher or whatever. So he ends up publishing it, and everyone finds out about what happened. And so they try and like storm his building and whatever. And he's not there obviously, like he's already gone. Even the police and everything, they even go to like his base on Antarctica trying to look for him there and everything. But by that point he's already like, I'm gonna go look for John, because like Dr. Manhattan, like at the end of Watchmen, he's like, I'm leaving this earth, like I'm gonna go find life somewhere else basically. And he does, and he finds it in the DC universe. And so Adrian basically is like he's basically just looking for John, and that leads him to the DC universe as well.
Okay, so but I mean, I've seen like a few panels of it, but I know that Doctor Manhattan he's kind of painted as a villain, like
Yeah.
because he just like the magicians try to fuck with him, and he's just like, you're looking at it, and then he's just fucking blows it up in pieces.
That was I'm sorry, you go first.
I was gonna say it was like it was a little reminiscent of Shazam and Superman fighting in Kingdom Come, where it was just like where he's just like he just keeps calling down thunder on fucking Superman, and
Right.
except only this time it's like I feel like because Doctor Manhattan is gone, like it's insane. Like it's like that is the extent of his powers.
Right.
So
it's before he didn't even have any feats. Like he didn't do shit in Watchmen. No, like nothing too amazing. Like so, there's been debates forever. Like, oh well, if he goes against a magic user, man, he'd probably get fucked up. Like, well, that's right out the window.
Yeah, like so I'm just like, is he a villain? Like, what is his? What do we know what?
Okay, so that's those images are from issue 9, and issue 10 just came out like 2 weeks ago. And in that issue, it's basically they use all the different retcons and all the different like line-wide changes that have come across the universe, like in the real world, where it's like DC's like, okay, we need to rejigger everything and get some new readers on, so we're gonna have Crisis and we're gonna reboot everything from issue 1, or like when they do that, like there's another time where they do it with 0 Hour and things start at 0, or when they do Flashpoint and then they do the New 52 and everything starts at 1 again. they use all those times as Dr. Manhattan messing with this universe, trying to understand what makes it tick. And it's at the core of it, it's him learning about Superman and what makes Superman so important. And like
That's go for
what were
it.
you gonna say?
No, go for it. I have a comment. I want you to finish what you're saying.
Well, like as he's going through, he just sees, and this is Jeff Johns again, and he wrote Infinite Crisis, and like that dealt with bringing back the multiverse after Crisis, after the original Crisis had destroyed it. And again, it's going back to those old plot threads where it's Superman is at the heart of this universe, and he even he's like, this isn't a multiverse, this is a metaverse, and it's basically, and he's like remapping the whole DC multiversal landscape to where it's like all the changes that affect this one universe affect all the other universes around it, and all those. I mean, in real life, which is kind of it's kind of clever because Watchmen, like in real life, changed all these things about comics, and then in the DC universe, like Dr. Manhattan changed all these things about their universe, which is real meta, real cool.
Okay, because that's almost like a perfect parallel to the Dark Knights of Metal, like
Right.
where it's just like you've got Batman who kind of forces his way into being this being that I don't think he not Dark Knights of Metal. Well, yeah, no, because
Yeah, metal.
yeah, well, like where he's going back through time, taking a bullet from Darkseid, and he's just like, well, I just got to get back. I got to be Batman, and then it's him like reshaping the universe. Then we find out about this dark multiverse, which is
Right.
on the flip side, and it's just, and it's like it's almost like it's like you've got Batman who's the dark, and then to be like everything revolves around Superman, and then to give him like that, like we're going full circle. Superman is like comics. This is a good thing, and it's just okay, that's pretty amazing. Like I don't know. I guess what I was trying to say that it's an interesting. I don't think they're parallel, but it's almost like yin and yang.
Yeah,
really
definitely.
Neat that they're going into it, where it's just because I kind of had some grievances with Dark Knights of Metal because it was like, man, this is way too focused on Batman. Like,
Yeah, it's super Batman centric, unfortunately. I think with that one I had a lot of fun on the journey, but then by the end of it, it's just kind of like, all right, well, we need to move on into this new No Justice event that we have going on. And then when you go through that, it's like, all right, well, we need to get to the Justice League run that we have planned, which is actually great right now. The Justice League run hasn't, man, it's been a long time since Justice League has been as good as it is right now. But like between No Justice and like the later half of Dark Knight's Metal, um, I had to have lost readers because it kept getting more convoluted, and like Scott Snyder, great writer, really fun. I think some of the concepts that he was trying to deal with, like the more of the Morrison stuff, he was kind of fumbling it a bit, and it just didn't pan out the way he wanted to. Because like that whole event, its whole crux lies on the fact that Morrison sent Batman back through time in a Final Crisis, which wasn't even supposed to happen either. If you didn't know, like fun fact, Batman was supposed to die that whole time, but like because Dark Knight Rises was coming out around that same time, DC wanted to bring back Batman, so they added like the extra page at the end of the book where it's like Batman's in the cave with Anthro, the caveman.
Oh my gosh. That is wild. I don't know. Like I'm gonna read Doomsday Clock. Like, because I'm like
it's a lot of fun. It's just there's been so many delays because it started in November of 2017, and it's only 12 issues.
That's what I heard, and I've also, I guess some people are on the fence about Mime and Marionette, which I don't know anything about, but I remember reading on the comics board on one of the channels, it's like he's not like these guys are just like they're pale attention being
Joker and
Alan
Harley.
Moore, well, I was gonna say Alan Moore characters, like.
Well, because the thing is, they're supposed to be from the Watchmen universe, but they're created by Jeff Johns.
See.
Yeah, Jeff Johns likes to dip from the Alan Moore well a lot. Like, there's an old Green Lantern annual and Alan Moore did it. And there's a story called Tigers. It's from Tales of the Green Lantern Corps Annual #2. It's really famous, so I mean, it's not that difficult to remember. But it's basically about Abin Sur, and he goes to meet these things called the Five Inversions, and they tell him about and they tell him all these different prophecies, and one of them is basically the Blackest Night, and like all the stuff that Alan Moore talks about, like the children of the White Lobe and like Oa being destroyed, like or Mogo being destroyed. Oa or Mogo, I don't remember anymore. But like Jeff Johns used all that shit for Blackest Night and for Sinestro Corps War.
Wow.
But yeah, just a little side note.
I was gonna say Green Lantern is also one of those like titles that is like the more creative the writer is, the better it gets.
Yeah. The Jeff Johns, I mean, that's the run that people are gonna point to the most. But usually when they say Jeff Johns, they also mean because at the same time Peter J. Tomasi was on the Green Lantern Corps book, and those books ran simultaneously, like through Sinestro Corps and through Blackest Night. It's like that's included in all of it. But oh man, the stuff that Grant Morrison is doing right now is so much different and so just like far above anything because like I've read almost every Green Lantern comic, so like when like reading this, it's a league of its own. It's a whole different thing. A lot of the big drawing point to Jeff Johns' Green Lantern is that you can read that run, and once you get to the final issue, you don't need to touch any more Green Lantern books, because he just kind of wraps everything up, and he even presents you with like where these characters will eventually end up in the future. So it's like you get a really nice, again, like a nice fulfilling story to kind of wrap up. But what Grant Morrison is doing is on a whole other level right now. It's like a 1980s European, like a 2000 AD kind of book, where it's just totally out there and just exactly what you'd expect from Grant Morrison.
Wow, I was thinking he was going to go more along the lines of trying to wrangle Sentinel back into the mix, because I feel like
that would be cool, actually. Well, I think that the only issue with that is that because like all the stuff that's happened with the New 52 and everything, the Justice League the Justice Society of America has been absent since the New 52 started. And that's what Jeff Johns is dealing with in Doomsday Clock as well. Because it's like, while Manhattan is messing with like Superman and that universe, he's also messing with the Legion of Superheroes, and he's messing with the JSA, because they play a big role in Superman, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So probably whenever that ends, we'll probably get some form of JSA sort of thing. But
JSA has always been like I always feel like it's like
your dad's superheroes.
It really is, dude. It's like Dr. Fate, fucking Hawkman. Like, I'm just like, Dr. Fate, I'm always a little DC handles or magic users, but it's just like, who gives a fuck about Hawkman? Like,
I like Hawkman, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Like, of all the characters that the meme is that Aquaman isn't a good fish. I don't really care. I'm like, I'll read anything, but it's like Hawkman is so like, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! The story, the plot to the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of.
Yeah, that's
true. Like, where it's like these ancient Egyptian deities fucking battling over shit, and Hawkman can fly, and he has a mace. Like, I don't really.
There's actually currently right now there's a great Hawkman series from Robert Venditti. Brian Hitch was on it drawing it, but it's someone else. I forgot who. Excuse whoever it was. Sorry, but the whole drawing point of like the Hawkman thing is he's gone through so many retcons. Is like it's another kind of meta thing where he's trying to figure out like, all right, which one of these origins is actually my origin, you know? So it's like that. It's kind of cool what they're doing with him right now. But like on the whole, yeah. I mean, Hawkman, you can take or leave him for most of the.
I mean, as long as like for me, as long as it's an interesting book and it's finite, it's very hard for me to get on board with something when it's like, I don't want to have to read the footnotes, because I feel like I was almost obligated to read Court of Owls after reading Batman R.I.P. because that's what it led into, right?
Well, so from R.I.P. it goes into like the Return of Batman, but at the same time they're doing Batman and Robin, where Dick Grayson is Batman and Damian Wayne is Robin.
Yeah.
and then Bruce Wayne eventually comes back, and that leads into Batman Incorporated, and then that eventually ends. And Scott Snyder and Batman Incorporated go on simultaneously at one point, but when the New 52 starts, Scott Snyder gets the main Batman, and Morrison's just on Batman Incorporated.
Okay. Also, Batman Incorporated had some really like it was kind of a weird, like, the premise was just like, I was like, it feels like almost like, how could people not put two and two together the moment that he like.
Yeah, I can see that, but some of the stuff like I don't know, like with how do I say it? Well, basically, like when I like those moments because it's like for me again, I don't think I'm that hard to please. So it's like those moments when like Bruce Wayne is online and he's like trolling people, like, oh, maybe Bruce Wayne is Batman, and then he's like in another account, like, oh no, he can't be Batman. It's probably this other person, or oh no, it's probably multiple Batmans. Like using all these different accounts, like I don't know. I could see Bruce Wayne doing that. Like he fucking dresses up as a bat and goes out and beats up junkies. You know, it's probably not very far fetched. Also, for that note, like, why the fuck would you ever commit crime in Gotham, dude? You're just asking to get your shit kicked in.
I know, like that would just be like, I could sell this heroin in Gotham. Like I would go like,
I'm gonna go to Metropolis or something, dude.
like I'm pretty sure all of the like drug deals, like in the suburbs, there's like it just keeps moving as Batman gets greater influence. Like, oh my god. That would be a really interesting premise for a comic. It's just like a bunch of low level thugs that just don't give a shit, but they're like, we gotta still move this fucking dope because like people want it. So it's like they're like, and so they're charting out like the furthest edge on Gotham where Batman is, where he's like been spotted, so to speak, and they're like, we can't go past this spot, and then like, and it's just like it could be like, they're not in Gotham, they're in Gotham Hills, like about 50 miles west of us. Like, you think I'm gonna fucking drive the Batmobile down this fucking freeway to stop those guys? Fuck them. I got shit like the Scarecrow to deal with. And then it's just like this entire community is suffering. That would be this sounds like a really bitchin' idea. Rick, if you ever write this, just like,
dude, I have so many ideas I would love to write for DC.
I mean, because I feel like it always ends up being like hovering around the superhero, but it doesn't like. But you don't. It's shit like that doesn't get thought. Like where it's like.
There's a really cool Gotham Central. That was a really cool title for a while. I mean, it doesn't exist now, but that one's a lot of fun. Just dealing more with like GCPD instead of just Batman, you know, and you get to kind of flesh out Gotham as a character.
But that was that one focused on Renee Montoya, right?
Yeah, her and what's Gordon's fucking teammate's name? Can't remember his name, but yeah, those two.
But then Montoya becomes the question.
Yeah, in 52, that is a great series as well. That one's 52 issues, but goddamn, that's an amazing series. It takes place right after Infinite Crisis, and after Infinite Crisis, they Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman decide to like, all right, we're gonna basically take a year off, and we're gonna like recollect all of our shit because Infinite Crisis just fucked us over, and so like it's like a way for DC to rejigger everything, and you could just jump on with the next issue of Wonder Woman or whatever, and it'll have like a little stamp that says 1 year later. So it's like it takes place 1 year after everything, and you kind of get like a fresh start. But while that was going on, DC put out a book called 52, and you get 1 week or 1 issue a week for 52 weeks for a whole year, and you get to see what happened in the DC universe while the Trinity was gone.
Oh
wow!
It's so good.
Isn't that like the one where like Booster Gold basically tries to monopolize on their absence?
Yep. Yeah, that was the series that totally sold. I mean, like I'd read JLI, and he's really fun in Justice League International, but 52 totally sold me on Booster Gold. I was like, man, I love this dude. He's such a good character. That one's really fun. He's really cool in there. The Question's really cool in there. And then like, cause there's like Jeff Johns, Mark Waid, Grant Morrison, and I always forget who the fourth person is, but they all work together on 52 to make, to like work on all these different plot lines. And during 52 is where you get the seeds to Grant Morrison's Batman run, basically.
Really?
Because like I mean Batman's all fucked. Like 'cause that's the thing. At the beginning of Infinite Crisis, Maxwell Lord has control over Superman. And so Wonder Woman gets her lasso of truth over him. She's like, "How can I stop this?" And he's like, "You have to kill me." She's like, "Okay." She fucking snaps his neck, and but when that happens, Maxwell Lord has all these cameras in the room that they're in, and it sends live feed all over the world for everyone to see Wonder Woman just kill this dude in cold blood, essentially. And then with that going on, and then with like all the shit going on with like what Superman's been doing, like Batman doesn't trust them basically. So just like puts a divide through the whole. It puts the divide through the Trinity. So at the end of Infinite Crisis, like, all right, we need to like go get our shit back together. And like Batman goes back to Nanda Parbat, like where the original question is like gets like a lot of his shit from, and he goes through this like Thogal ritual and everything. And he just, he gets reborn into the new Batman. And then when you come into Grant Morrison's run, he's like peak Batman, like he's not this depressive, guy all the time. Like every night that he goes and deals with Gotham, he's winning over Joe Chill, like he's not still fucking crying over his parents, that sort of thing.
Nice. Good. That's also like another thing that I feel like in a movie it would be better to address because like you get the short form storytelling. But I always felt like it would be a really funny version of Batman if like you had Batman during the 80s and then and that's where you get like Dick Grayson and all that shit. And then like going into the 90s with Jason Todd, because I always felt like I would really want to see like the whole Jason Todd getting murdered. This is how like macabre my imagination is. But what the fuck is the name of that song? There's that 90s song where it's like crystal meth will lift you up until you drop.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. If you just see Jason Todd getting murdered to that song during like the 90s and then like in the early 2000s, like the whole reason why Tim Drake figures out that Batman is Bruce Wayne is through the internet because Batman
all to Third Eye Blind, Semi-Charmed Life.
That's it. That could you just because it would be like the most 90s fucking moment and just like it's the beginning of the 90s and the end of the 80s and just like this is where we are now. Because like I feel like people forget like when you go through 3 Robins, tell me that there's not there's got to be a version of Batman that is just he's good mechanically and a lot of his traps are like mechanical, but what if he just couldn't figure out a fucking smartphone? Like and that's how Tim Drake gets him. Is he's like, "Oh no, dude, I hacked your smartphone." And he's just like, "I didn't know you could do that." And then just cuz like I don't know, old man Batman is not something that explored as often as it should. It's like Batman Beyond was such a good fucking show because of it.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
And that whole scene is just like
I want there to be a new Batman Beyond so bad.
There's a comic run on it, but I don't think it's good from what I remember.
There's a few. I know a person that we know, Levi. He fucking loves Batman Beyond, dude. Like he literally has every single Batman Beyond.
So because I know Terry McGinnis isn't technically in the main continuity, right? Like it's Tim Drake is Batman Beyond, right?
He was Batman Beyond for a while, and then at the end of that run, he disappears into this blue light, which is supposed to tie into Rebirth eventually. But which is actually funny because Levi messaged Dan Jurgens himself to because he's like, dude, like what happened to this plot line? Is someone else gonna pick it up? And like Dan Jurgens just like messaged him back and like someone is supposed to pick it up, but they never did. So just basically like Tim Drake just vanishes. You don't get any explanation afterwards. When you come into Rebirth, Terry McGinnis is the Batman again. Because there's a point where like he like pseudo died. So like that's why Tim Drake took over. And they kind of like brushed that under the rug and they're like, okay, let's just carry on with Batman Beyond like we all know. And it's pretty good. I'm not fully caught up on it anymore. I've let a lot of issues stack up on that one, but when I was reading it, it was really fun.
Because I feel like it's just hard to bring him into the continuity.
Yeah, you don't. Doing stuff in the future just nails too much shit down. Mm-hmm. It's not good.
Which is why the 2099 line didn't really take.
Right. Just not. Yeah. Spider-Man and I think like Spider-Man was it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other ones, but what?
Oh man. by the way, the best thing that I've seen in a long time was the post-credit scene for Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah, with Spider-Man 2099, that was funny.
Yeah.
I like that. I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it caught me off guard. But I think we should call it an episode at that. Unless, Van, do you have anything else you want to talk?
No, I think, dude, I think this is a great
2 hours?
episode. Yeah. I think we've taken enough of Rick's life and energy away from him to really push this thing into the forefront of the podcasting community. And it was awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had a great time. I could talk about comics forever, so it's not.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely have you on
We will.
again.
Yeah,
I'm
because
definitely down.
it's like maybe like a quarterly or like monthly thing, because it's just like we end up going back to Yu-Gi-Oh too much.
Hmm.
We don't enough to make it like an actual Yu-Gi-Oh podcast. So having anything that's going to pull us forward is going to be nice. But I really thank you for joining us this week.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me on. I think whenever you have me on again, we should talk about the Invisibles and the Matrix. That would be really fun.
All
Oh
right.
yeah, definitely. That'll give me enough time to actually read the Invisible.
Yeah. Just,
There's a lot to unpack with that one, but yeah.
All right, for sure. So Van, do you have an outro, or we?
I don't have an outro yet, and thanks for bringing that up. Now I got to make one.
You know, I didn't. You said those things. No, all right. Thanks everybody for listening, and until next week.
I'm just gonna play us out to Soldier Boy. You.
I can't hear it, but
No, I'm not doing it.
oh god.
That's for everyone else at home to listen to, so we don't get copyright striked again.
Read more comics. That's what I gotta say.
All right.
Definitely.
Rick, where can we find you again?
Just on Instagram mainly, Doombot2814. That's
right.
where I post all my art and everything. And like when I get new comic books to review, I'll post stuff on there and have all my links.
All right, cool. We'll put that down in the show notes along with You Don't Read Comics. So you can check out that website, and until next time, don't be the best. Be second best.
Word.
That's right.